Greetings, greetings. This is Mikael from Inside My Head. Can you believe it? We just finished our 4th week of volunteer quarantines. I call them volunteer quarantines because we didn't have martial law, we didn't have the police, we didn't have the armed forces enforcing us to stay inside. There were a lot of threats, but it never took place. So we volunteered and we quarantined ourselves. And for the most part, most people were following the orders of our government and our expert officials who said that we would lose millions of people due to this virus. Don't mention the fact that, 95% of the people who are exposed to the virus have mild to no symptoms. Now, mild is a unique word because mild is like getting the flu times 2. So that is the definition of mild, but we'll just move on. The point that I want to bring up today is that these short-term remedies create long-term disabilities. I've been saying that since day one. The prescription that we have been told to do, which is to stay inside, which of course makes us more immobile. We already had sedentary lifestyles where we sit down all the time. We have been also forced to watch more screens, watch more TV, use our tablets. We have become more ingrained with stress, and fear is like at the top of our minds. We've been told to not go outside and get the fresh air, and it's all beautiful and it's youthful for our body. All of these prescriptions lowers our immunity. I'll repeat it. Every single one of this, isolation and loneliness lowers our immunity. Being immobile lowers our immunity. Watching a lot of screens affects our mentality, increases stress. Anything that increases stress lowers our immunity. So let's go back to the top and let's talk about loneliness, the isolation. Isolation is worse than being obese. Isolation is worse than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Isolation drives the mind crazy. Humanity is needed to talk and to interact with other people. That's ingrained inside of our DNA. That's our birthright. So I'm going to bring up an expert, Dr. Shiva. Now, this guy is an expert in so many things. He actually created email. While he created email, oh my God, he got so many other expertise at MIT. He's also a PhD from MIT dealing with geological or biological genetics. So I'm going to let him explain, and since he's the expert, how detrimental loneliness is to your health and, most importantly, your immune system.
Number 1 was social connections, friendships, these solid, very powerful friendships. Number 2 was, some physical activity. Number 3 was the ability to drink something fermented, which supported the gut bacteria. So I just want to let you know that. But number 1 was social connection. And what are we doing right now? We're telling people to stay inside, don't get any vitamin D. We're telling people to isolate themselves from other human beings. And if you walk around nowadays, what do you see? People sort of look at each other very afraid. It's a really dystopian world that Fauci, the CDC, the WHO, the Gates guys, the Zuckerbergs, the Chinese Communist Party, and Big Pharma have created. They've socially isolated us. Is this good for health? They claim it's good for health. And I'm about to show you some science that is absolutely nonsense. This social disconnection is actually hurtful. In fact, loneliness is a molecule. It's one of the titles of one of the papers I'm going to share with you. But going back to this was a wonderful landmark study. So people have known about this for many, many years, okay? And what this study really showed was that the lack of social connection was greater detriment than obesity, smoking, and high blood pressure. Let me repeat that. The lack of social connection was greater detriment than obesity, smoking, and high blood pressure. Many of you know I've been talking about pre-existing conditions. The reason these people who are going on the ventilators, who are having problems, whether it's COVID or some other virus, when the flu season comes, the number one discussion here has been they've had pre-existing conditions, the obesity, they smoked, they had high blood pressure, some type of immunocompromised situation where their immune systems were lowered, meaning it was weakened, and their immune system overreacts and attacks their own body. It's not the virus. The virus, basically, the immune system in a normal case deals with it. Maybe you get some sniffles, your body readjusts and you move forward. But an overreactive immune system goes and attacks different parts of the body depending on where that virus molecule typically likes to go to. That's what we talked about. But it's people with underlying conditions, right? And if you look at this slide here from this research, this landmark study, what do you find? That even worse than those underlying conditions, obesity, smoking, and high blood pressure, is loneliness, is social disconnection. So let me repeat this again, that we are actually creating an underlying condition. Foolish people like Fauci and the pharmaceutical industry is actually creating an underlying connection, which is by creating social disconnection, the lack of connection. And I'm going to go down to the molecular level and share this. This is quite extraordinary. Telling people not to get vitamin D, which I've shared with you in many of the videos as an antimicrobial, and then we're isolating people.
Stress weakens the immune system. Stress is probably the number one killer. It does so many negative things to the body. I can go on forever and talk about this. But I'm going to give you a two-minute exercise that not only relieves stress, it lowers your cortisol, and it rises and it increases your testosterone. And it's called power poses. Power poses is like doing the Wonder Woman, Superman, where you're open, hands in the air, I'm victorious, I'm number one. You're just opening your body. You're surrendering your body. And you just stand there for 2 minutes. Now, I would urge you to take beautiful, deep breaths using your diaphragm for 2 minutes. And it automatically reduces your cortisol, which is that stress hormone. And I talk about the hormone wars. The hormone wars is when you have external stimulation that affects your mentality, and then it goes in and creates these hormones chronically 24/7 that creates these terrible conditions for our bodies. So go look up the power pose for yourself. Once again, urge you to do your own research so that we can start gaining more control over this wonderful, beautiful body of ours. Hi, once again, I'm Mikhail from Inside My Head, and I want to thank you for watching, but I want you and I urge you to take responsibility for our own health, especially in these times. Thank you so much.